The I don't know, what are we calling it now? The Big Ten? USC?
Yeah.
The Big Ten in UCLA. UCLA stole a huge recruit from Oregon yesterday. And now the question becomes, what are you as an Oregon fan, let's say, as a Pac-10 fan, let's say, how are you feeling about what you're seeing when you see guys like Dante Moore, the number 3 recruit in the country, pulling out on Oregon because Dillingham took the job at Arizona State? He said, hey, the guy that recruited me to Oregon is gone, so I'm out. Did he stay in the Pac-10? He did not. Where did he go? Chip Kelly in UCLA. Is this a shot over the bow of the Pac-10, and is the West Coast now a Big Ten market?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that guys like Dante Moore, who have that kind of talent and have that kind of ability, understand that they have power, that they have control over their path and their route to the league. And I think that Dante Moore understands that the Big Ten offers him a much more efficient route and, frankly, a much better route than the Pac-10 does. And I think playing in the Big Ten essentially guarantees you a spot in the college football playoff if everything goes as planned. But you can't say that about the Pac-10, can you? Can't say that. So that's the problem. These guys want to be seen every week, and they don't want it to be on Amazon. They want it to be on Channel 4, ABC, ESPN, or, I don't know, NBC, or a national channel that anybody and their mother can watch. That's what they want, and that's what you're going to get in the Big Ten. So they also understand right now in this particular window in time that the momentum that UCLA and frankly SC has going into the Big Ten, you got to be a part of that if you have the opportunity. You have to. What better way to legitimize yourself than to be part of that first squad that goes into the Big Ten officially and then goes on a run and wins that conference and then goes to the college football playoff and competes for a national championship? You really telling me that kids don't want to be a part of that, that guys don't want to be a part of that? That's why they're going, not because John Wilner says that Bo Nix is coming back.
Yeah, seriously.
Get the hell out of here with that, dude.
This was a huge deal, and now I wish I obviously had captured that. But this is a huge deal. Yesterday, John Wilner, and listen, I understand that John Wilner has a public that he has to serve. I totally understand that. John Wilner yesterday, after the news that Dante Moore was transferring to UCLA, said, bottom line, Oregon would rather have Bo Nix than Dante Moore in 2023, and UCLA would rather have Dante Moore than anyone else in 2023, so both teams have upgraded. This is not an upgrade for Oregon. Bo Nix is a guy that runs a lot, and we saw at the end of the year, he's going to be hurt. He's going to be injured. You need, at a minimum, 3 quarterbacks on your roster.
Yeah.
And Dante Moore is the number 3 recruit in the country. That's not an accident. And I have a lot of respect for John Wilner. I know that he has a difficult job. There are expectations of Wilner.
Yeah.
That he is going to support anything that the Pac-10 says and anything that the Pac-10 does. And listen, again, I totally understand that. But the idea that somehow in some way John Wilner is just going to roll out with, oh my goodness, this is great for Oregon and this is great for UCLA and everybody wins, is a complete fraud, because this isn't great for Oregon.
Yeah.
Anytime you lose the number 3 recruit in the country to UCLA and the Big Ten, I don't see how that is an upgrade for Oregon.
This is a code 10 abort.
Exactly right. What this is spin. And by the way, the other one you better be paying attention to, because it's a big one, is Dorian Singer, all Pac-10 Dorian Singer. Wide receiver, transferring from a player's program. Arizona.
How is that even possible?
What a dumb slogan.
Oh, but I thought Jed Fish was doing a great job at Arizona, and Arizona is everyone's cup of tea.
For the 3rd Arizona Wildcat to transfer to USC is Dorian Singer.
Yeah.
One of the best wide receivers in the conference.
Yeah.
How loaded is USC now? I'm telling you, this is a huge problem. The Big Ten is a draw. And I think this is probably the bigger conversation that we need to have. How much damage is the Big Ten already doing after the UCLA announcement? Because I think it's significant. I think the Big Ten now owns Los Angeles. I think the Big Ten is already bringing more talent to and taking more talent from the Pac-12 in Los Angeles.
Facts.
Because they're taking recruits from Oregon, from Arizona, and they're plugging them into Los Angeles. And those kids, you look at what Dante Moore said, he wants to play in big games. He wants to play in the Big Ten.
I'm for real.
Why is that? Because the Big Ten upgraded, with all due respect to John Wilner. The Big Ten upgraded here with USC and UCLA and Dante Moore and Dorian Singer. That's a huge upgrade. This puts USC in position not to win the Pac-10 next year, but to compete for a national championship.
How about that?
And we talked about this the other day. There's one goal at USC every single year, especially now with Lincoln Riley at the helm. They want to win a national championship. That's it. They're not here to win a conference championship.
Yeah.
They're not here to go to the New Mexico Bowl. They're here to play for the national championship of college football. And Jake, I think this is the beginning of the end for the Pac-10.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it coming for months. I have no problem saying that. We've been saying this for months, that once UCLA is confirmed and going to the Big Ten, that was it. That was endgame. It's over. End times. Conference is dying right now. This is the beginning right here. Remember this day. Remember December 20th of 2022 at 7:28 Mountain Time. We told you this was day one of the end of times for the Pac-10 because it is. You cannot. So do you see how this works? Right? Everyone's all pissed off about transfer portal and NIL and people are cheating. And you got this guy in San Antonio who's all fed up because P5 programs are rolling into practice and talking to guys. Right? Okay, be upset about it. But here's what I got to say. It's the new age. It's the new era. Be upset or get on board, Kyle Whittingham. Be upset or get on board, George Klyavkov. It's time. You need to get this now. If you are, an ASU fan, I love what ASU is doing. I love the aggression. I love the proactiveness with which they're getting young, better head coaching, which is allowing them to go and get, recruits like Jacob Conover, or any of these other guys they've gotten. I love it. The problem is it's too late for you. You got to get out. You got to get to the Big 12 now. If you're a Pac school, it has to happen.
Yeah, this is a huge deal. And by the way, if you look at Arizona State, Drew Pine's not going to BYU. He's transferring to Arizona State. And so, again, I ask, what is going on with Jacob Conover? Why did Jacob Conover end up at Arizona State? It's fascinating to see all of these kids making these transfer decisions. I hope somebody's advising them. I look at this situation at BYU. Clark Barrington entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Why is he not going to the NFL draft? I think he's given up 2 career sacks at BYU. You said to me today, BYU's got an exodus. I don't think BYU has a transfer problem. I think Clark Barrington transferring is the exact wrong move. It's a shocking mistake. Clark Barrington should be going to the NFL. He should not be going to college. That's a guy that's, in my opinion, he's probably a first 3 rounds gone, Clark Barrington. I mean, guard in the NFL has become such a premium position. It's just shocking that he would continue playing college football. Now, if he goes to Baylor with his brother, okay, maybe I understand that. He should be going to the NFL. Mm-hmm. So run that back for me. What do you think about BYU's transfer situation?
I think that guys are the problem is you have big names who have left that were like guys like Clark Barrington who are now type players who were helping you now. And they're transferring or going to the league, whatever the situation is.
I think Clark Barrington's the best player who's transferred.
Yeah, but
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
We're going to have a conversation in fall camp about the fact that you don't have a good quarterback or that Jaron came back and you have nobody behind him because you're not developing guys, so they're leaving. You're not giving guys opportunity, so they're leaving. They're going. Who with all due respect to Sol J, right? I get it. It was your first game. Like, really, Soldi's the guy we're most excited about. That's what I'm concerned about. So, yeah, maybe 50 guys haven't left the program.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that there's a lot of talent that's left the program that either would have been in your pipeline, that could have been a starter for you and could have contributed and could have been that next guy up in the system. But they're gone now. And I'm not confident, with all due respect to Kalani, that he's going to roll into the Big 12 and backfill all that talent.
Yeah.
That's what I struggle with. So, yeah, maybe it's strong to say that there's an exodus of talent. There's not like a bazillion guys leaving, but I do think that BYU's got a problem with talent right now.
Well, I mean, it is troubling that guys like Peely and Barrington want to go be grad transfers and play somewhere else, but I also think that's an indication of the incredible, difficult future ahead in the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think that to get into the Big 12, you're going to be fortunate to be bowl eligible your first year. Honestly, I think it just in the programs that you're coming in with, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati, and BYU, like that right there, that group is a very difficult hill to climb. But then you throw in Oklahoma State, you have to think is going to have a bounce back year, and Oklahoma and Kansas and K-State and TCU, and you have to think that this league is only getting better in football. And then let's not even talk about basketball at this point. But I just think it's disappointing to see Peely and Barrington in the portal, but you understand it. I understand it. But I don't understand why Clark Barrington's not going to the NFL. To me, that's a lost opportunity. That's a lost opportunity. It'll be interesting to see how all that works out. I see a lot of you still in on Don. Apparently, Blake Phillips is not a fan. He says screw Monty. He says unsubscribe. Monty and Jake should stick to sports, not demean their listeners on every topic. All Monty does is say rude comments and jokes. Well, let's get something straight right away. If you're going to come in here and be a racist, I'm not going to be polite to you. I'm not going to be polite to you. And when you say some of the things that have been said in the comments section this morning, sorry, man. I'm not going to just let that pass. And listen, Blake, this is absolutely a free country. If you choose not to subscribe to this channel, we appreciate the time that you've spent here. We appreciate the time that you were subscribed. I have no hard feelings for you. But if you're going to be a racist and say racist things, and this is the first comment I think I've ever seen from you, so I don't know what your feeling on this is. If you don't feel like I've been fair this morning, please find your way out. I'm not going to beg you to stay. Because my feeling on this Donovan Mitchell topic is very, very clear. Very, very clear. I think everybody deserves to be heard. Everybody's voice deserves to be heard. Everybody's feelings are valid, and we need to have conversations like this. And if you're not a fan of that, please feel free. Find your way out. I don't mind it at all. I do not mind it at all. I think it's very important to say, I appreciate everybody who's participated in this conversation today.
Yeah.
We don't block people, or like, you want to be a racist, out yourself. But just know our comment section is a community of people that are not going to give you a free pass.
Yeah.
You're not going to walk in and make all these crazy comments, and that's just not the show. Our comment section, we take a great deal of pride in the interaction that we provide on this show. Yeah. Frankly, we have always said the best part of the show is your comments.
Yeah, and by the way, like rolling in with, unsubscribed. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, it just is not, it's not some death knell on our show, dude. Like, we do this show 5 days a week. We have the realest discussions in Utah, and I would say some of the realest discussions in our country. And I think that, again, if you don't want to be here, that's fine. Cool. There's another show out there for you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Best of luck to you. Pied Piper says, do you guys think that Oregon and Washington will jump to the Big 12 if the Big 10 doesn't come calling? I think the next round of realignment is going to be fascinating to watch, because I have to think in the new year, early in the new year, because don't forget it, early signing day is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big, big deal. Early signing day is tomorrow. You are going to know the impact of UCLA and USC to the Big Ten tomorrow. You are going to understand Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. And by the way, there's a conversation going on and on and on. I probably undersold the lead on this. The reason that the schedule's not coming out, and thank you everybody who DM'd me and asked me yesterday why the schedule's not out. I believe, from what I've been told, that the Big 12 is trying to allow Texas and Oklahoma to go to the SEC right now. Right meow.
Yeah.
So they're not releasing a schedule, and it's been consistently delayed because I think they're trying to allow Oklahoma and Texas to go now.
Yeah.
And I think part of that problem is then that USC and UCLA will want to do the same. The Big Ten will not want to wait another year. So I think there's a lot of moving pieces. From what I understand, all the schools in the Big 12 know their schedule. The schedule is in the hands of the ADs and the football departments. They know what that schedule is. It's simply a matter of making it public knowledge. Mm-hmm. So it's not as though the schedule has not been written. It's tentative because they're trying to figure out what they're doing with Texas and Oklahoma. There is a massive schism, a divide, a problem in the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because I think we saw it with Mike Gundy across this entire season, especially at Media Day. Nobody wants Texas and Oklahoma involved in Big 12 conversations. Nobody. Nobody wants them on conference calls. Nobody wants them on video links. Nobody wants them involved in Big 12 business. And I think that's one of the things that's really pushing this decision with the schedule forward, is that people want Texas and Oklahoma out of the conference just as soon as possible. Yeah. And there's no reason to keep them now. There's no reason to keep them. Let them go. If you can get out a year early, knock yourself out. The problem is that new TV deal doesn't take effect, and Texas and Oklahoma are part of the current TV deal. So there's a lot of moving pieces and parts in place. So
yes.
But keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Tulin says maybe he doesn't want to play in the NFL, might be going for NIL money. You mean Clark Barrington? Could absolutely be. I mean, he was a huge T-shirt guy with Coug Connect.
Yeah.
You know, what the mustache T-shirt I think he had, and it'll definitely be interesting to see exactly where all that plays out. Greg Romano says I'm more disappointing in losing Ross and Thanos. Well, the Thanos thing, and we're still trying to get them on the show. By the way, they've been very willing to come on the show. We just haven't been able to get a date. But the Thanos thing's a big deal. I mean, you're losing guys that are big contributors.
Yeah.
Big contributors. So, and we'll see how they play at Utah. I mean, they're both the brothers are transferring to Utah, and I say, hey, great pickup for Utah, right? And because I think the world of both those kids. I think they're both huge contributors. I think Logan, unfortunately, with the knee injury, but he's back, he's healthy. I think he's going to be he's going to be the next star sack man at Utah, I think. Like, the sky's the limit for that guy. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But yeah, I think, you know what, Romano? I think you're exactly right. I think the Thanos thing is a huge problem. Yeah. It's a huge problem. In the Tuiaki defense, I would agree with you. I think Elisa Tuiaki lost more than games. And you know what else I think? I think the hesitation to make that change, I think that long period where they were trying to get Sean Nua into the program, and you waited on Ed Lamb. I think if you'd have fired Tuiaki and the day the season ended, you would have hired Ed Lamb. I think the Thanos brothers may well have been here. It was one of the questions I want to ask him. Yeah. It's one of the questions I want to ask him, because I just don't – it just does not compute to me that it's a football problem. It's a football problem. But I also think, by the way, there are a lot of kids, and I don't know that this is the thing with Logan or whatever, but there's a lot of kids who don't want to be the first year team in the Big 12.
Can you blame them?
No, because it's going to be an ass kicking.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely an issue. The biggest stories in sports every morning on this program are brought to you by our good friends at Quick Quack Car Wash. Make sure you stop by Quick Quack Car Wash and you tell them, hey, heard about you guys on the Monty Show. What's this wash pass business
stuff?
I get their top tier wash pass every month, $21.99. I'm a huge believer in supporting small business, and you absolutely should do that. That's what Quick Quack Car Wash is. Now, it's a national brand, but all those spots here in Utah are owned by an entrepreneur. That's a small business that's being built. Support small business. Get yourself to a Quick Quack Car Wash. It's super easy. And again, we talk about it every day on the show.
Yeah.
The line is long. I can't wait in that line. It quite literally is 5-7 minutes you're there, right? Bring your kids, because you go through the tunnel. There's all different colors and flashing lights. And, I love that at the end, when you're going under the dryer and the lights are flashing. Wait. At Quick Quack, it says duck, 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 duck. And then when you go, it says duck, duck, goose.
I'm for real.
Which is totally cool. I love that. I love that there's lights. The soap is different colors, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's just a good experience going to Quick Quack Car Wash, mainly because the people make it great. So go check them out. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Absolutely. I think this story with Donovan Mitchell, the Jazz got blown out in Cleveland last night for the second game in a row.
Yeah, it's not good.
3.5-point favorites tonight in the Motor City. They take on the Pistons at 5 o'clock tonight. Make sure you check that game out and then come and react tomorrow morning right here on the Monty Show. But this Donovan Mitchell race interview thing that he did with Mark Spears, where he had some real harsh comments for the state of Utah. No doubt this story about him getting pulled over. Here's a direct piece of that interview from Mark Spears, an excerpt where he said, "I got an attitude from a cop until I gave him my ID, and that forever made me wonder what happens to the young black kid in Utah that doesn't have the power to just be like, this is who I am." It's a very powerful statement. Very powerful statement from Donovan Mitchell. And a lot of listeners this morning in the comment section are very upset that we're talking about it. But I think it's an incredibly important conversation. And of course, yesterday, the other biggest story in sports, no question at BYU, I think there were some people stunned at the news that Clark Barrington is transferring. He is in the transfer portal as a graduate transfer. I think there's a good chance he winds up with Grimes at Baylor. We'll see. I don't know. But Jake's reaction to that this morning was that BYU is reeling and that they have an exodus through the transfer portal. I disagree with that. I think obviously losing guys like Keenan Peely and losing guys like Clark Barrington is never ideal on top of the graduate, loss that you are facing. That's never ideal. But again, I think we would have known already if Jaren was leaving. My guess is Jaren returns. I don't know that to be fact. But it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the day how all of this shakes out and who winds up being the starting 22 for BYU football. That's going to be fascinating. Early signing day is tomorrow. I think those are your biggest local stories. I absolutely think that, this conversation that we've been having about the Big Ten versus the Pac-10 and guys like Dorian Singer from Arizona transferring to USC is absolutely a huge story. And I do think that the Big Ten owns Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I think that now you're seeing already the impact. Oregon losing Dante Moore, the number 3 recruit in the class, a quarterback and a very high-level quarterback, I think is a huge loss.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, it was a snowball effect waiting to happen. I think if you picture in your head a snowball sitting at the top of a hill waiting for the Board of Regents to say, yep, UCLA, you're good to go, start rolling that thing downhill, And frankly, I think you're going to dominate the West Coast, if I'm being totally honest, because think about it. They have the ultimate package now. You've got Southern California. You've got the Big Ten media deal, which allows kids to be seen way more, heard way more, which allows them to be recruited into the NFL a lot better, allowed to be seen by scouts, everything you could ever want. That is why they are going to dominate. And that is why the Pac-12, without Southern California, is going to become irrelevant, with all due respect to Washington and Oregon.
And again, I will just tell you, Gonzaga is a huge piece.
Yeah.
Gonzaga is a huge chip, dude.
Gonzaga.
And if you get Gonzaga. No.
Gonzaga.
If you get Gonzaga in the Big 12, I don't see how the Pac-10 survives.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Gonzaga basketball and baseball and the rest of their sports would be a huge ad for the Big 12. Huge ad. And if it's less revenue, I mean, you're not going to make less than you're making in the WCC now. If you're Gonzaga, going to the Big 12 is a step up. And I think if they come in on a prorated share because they don't drive football revenue, I think Gonzaga has no choice but to say yes to that, because how are you, Gonzaga, going to go to the Pac-10 and say, yep, I think you guys are the better choice. You don't have a TV deal, and you're probably a stream league, but I think you guys are the better choice for our kids and our brand. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, since the Pac-10 is putting the health and safety and well-being of kids first,
Yeah. I Look, it's back of the envelope calculations from Kliavkok, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kay Nuren says BYU can get the players to win. It will take time. It will take time. It is. One of the interesting conversations about BYU, the Big 12, is your level of confidence that Kalani Sitake is the guy to build this program. And we did a video on that yesterday on a YouTube short, and people lost their minds over it. I'm not saying to fire Kalani Sitake. I don't know how long the leash is, though. I really don't. I don't have a firm grasp on how much leeway Kalani has going into the Big 12.
How quickly the tides turn if you're a 4-win team.
Yeah. I mean, but also I don't think that BYU is an institution that routinely fires guys when they have a bad season.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's also any doubt. Last year, this past season, you're 8-5. This was a bad season. This was not a good season by any stretch. And the question is, you made significant changes on your coaching staff and in the football department. Does that translate immediately to wins in the Big 12? I don't know the answer to that. The portal, seemingly would make it easier to grow and develop. I mean, Utah certainly didn't have that advantage when they went into the Pac-12.
Right.
Does BYU get a boost? Is BYU a program that you can see routinely leveraging the transfer portal? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. Can't definitively say yes yet.
Because, again, I think just because you're going to the Big 12 doesn't mean that culturally things are going to change at BYU. I mean, you still have the honor code. You still have a very different student experience at BYU than you have at most other major football programs. So you still have some of those issues to overcome.
Yes.
But I think Kalani's also shown that he can recruit at a high level. Ed Lamb is a fabulous recruiter. He is. Kelly Papinga is a fabulous recruiter. I'm just curious, what does that translate to in the Big 12? Because I also think you look at the Big 10 adding really power coaches at Wisco and at Nebraska, and you're already seeing Nebraska is flipping big recruits. Matt Rule is flipping big recruits.
So I'm saying, if you're a prospect, with all due respect to BYU, why would you go to BYU over some of these other programs?
But I also think the question is, does Luke Fickell make Wisconsin football a contender?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's got the power to. I think that he's certainly shown that he can take a program like Cincinnati and turn them into something. So why wouldn't he be able to do that at Wisco?
Yeah, because I think Wisconsin offers a certain set of circumstances as well. I mean, you're in a very conservative part of the country. Grades matter at Wisconsin, where I don't think they matter as much at Michigan and Ohio State. And I think grades matter at Wisconsin. Grades matter at Northwestern. Grades matter at Indiana. Grades matter at Iowa, which has been a constant narrative and part of the problem with the bottom half of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And the cultural fits of a guy like a Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. Should you expect Luke Fickell to restore the glory of Barry Alvarez and the Badgers? I do. I'm a big believer in Luke Fickell. But I think that man, when you put UCLA and USC and you see Chip Kelly's always been a really good recruiter.
Yes.
He's not the greatest football coach.
Right.
That bro can recruit. He's always got talent. They're going to win more games than they're going to lose.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say that about BYU in the Big 12, especially right out the gate. I think that's going to be challenging. Brett Burnett says BYU did fine. Could have won some of those close games they lost. I don't know if I can agree with that. Would you agree that BYU could have won the Arkansas game? Were they ever in the Oregon game? Certainly not. Were they ever in the Notre Dame game? Were they ever in position to win the Notre Dame game? I never got the feeling in that game because Drew Pine was really conservative in that game.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame controlled the clock. I never got the feeling they were in that game. Were they in position to beat Arkansas? Certainly not. Were they ever in position to beat Liberty? Certainly not. East Carolina? Yeah, absolutely. That's a game that could have gone either way, and they just couldn't make a play.
Yeah.
Okay, you're 9-4. Okay, 9 wins is a hell of a lot better than 8, I guess. But you were never in position in 4 out of those 5 games. I never thought they would beat Oregon.
Yeah,
never. I never had the feeling during that game that they would beat Oregon.
My bigger problem with the comment is that's the assertion at BYU. Yeah, you did fine. You did fine. Did fine.
Well, that's
Could have
interesting.
won some more games, but we did fine. If you're going to have that mentality, you might as well just pack it up and be a 5-win team.
Yeah,
in the
and
Big 12.
Brent, I'm a little surprised by that because you're not usually the BYU did fine guy, or at least you don't strike me as that. He also says Big 12 basketball is going to be crazy good. Yes, it is. Dude, can you imagine that league?
No, dude.
And I'm being serious. If you look at that league,
Gonzaga.
and you stop. If you look at that league and you start to understand just how good the Big 12 is right now. I can you imagine like BYU is no pushover in basketball, right? Ask Utah. Okay, I'll stop. If you look at the Big 12 right now, you ask yourself, how are you going to walk past that? Any of the teams at Kansas? Kansas right now is what, 10-1? And I mean, they're just very good. They're very good.